1. International pre-war politics. Second Moroccan crisis. 1911. Dreikaiserbund. 1873. Russo-Turkish War. 1877. Treaty of San Stefano. 1878. Dual Alliance. 1879. Triple Alliance. 1882. Reinforcement Treaty. 1887. Entente Cordiale. 1904. Anglo-Russian Agreement. 1907. Fashoda Crisis. 1898. Conference of Algeciras. 1906. Bosnia annexed. 1912. Italo-Turkish War. 1911 to 1912. Balkan War. 1912 to 1913. Assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. 28th of June 1914. Austria declares war. 28th of July 1914. German ultimatum to Russia. 31st of July 1914. German ultimatum to Belgium. 2nd of August 1914. Britain declares war. 4th of August 1914. Treaty of London. 26th of April 1915. 2. Weimar Germany individuals. Schlieffenplan. Germany's plan to fight a two-front war. Prince Max of Baden, final Chancellor of Imperial Germany, appointed for his democratic views, hoping it, as well as his work with the Red Cross, would gain favour with the Entente. Philipp Scheidemann, Chancellor after Friedrich Ebert, protested by resignation following the Treaty of Versailles. Karl Liebknecht, communist, organised the Spartacist League and the KPD, arrested and murdered. Rosa Luxemburg, communist, organised the Spartacist League and the KPD, arrested and murdered. Hugo Hase, in SPT before the war, but was opposed to it and so formed the USPD. Erich Ludendorff, general, rose to the position of Quartermaster General in 1916, retired after the war but remained a fervent authoritarian and monarchist. Friedrich Ebert, leader of the SPD upon formation of the Republic, becoming its first chancellor. Served shortly, but then became president until his death, the 28th of February, 1925. Karl Liegien, leader of trade unions at the birth of the Republic. Hugo Steens, very large and influential industrialist. Freikorps, an anti-communist paramilitary numbering 400,000 by 1921. Woodrow Wilson, US President in 1919. Lloyd George, British Prime Minister in 1919. Georges Clemenceau, Prime Minister of France in 1919. Kurt Eisner, Jewish, SPD journalist who became leader of Bavaria until his assassination the 21st of February 1919. IARC, the Inter-Allied Reparations Committee. Hugo Preuss, German lawyer who wrote the Constitution. The Consul Organization, right-wing group of assassins. Wolfgang Kapp, founder of the Vaterlands Party, DVLP, and leader of the monarchist putsch, the 13th of March, 1920. General von Lüttwitz, co-conspirator in the Kapp putsch. 3. Weimar Germany key terms. Ebert-Groener Agreement, the 10th of November, 1918, that the army would support and serve the government. Steenes-Liegien Agreement, the 15th of November, 1918. No interference with private ownership in exchange for worker committees and 8-hour workdays. Paris Peace Settlement, 1990 to 1920. General term for the World War I peace talks. 15 points. Woodrow Wilson's aims for peace. Principally, self-determination, disarmament, and the creation of the League of Nations. The Young Plan. Enacted the 17th of May 1930. Proposed by Owen Young of the IARC. Quartered reparations to £1.85 billion, to be paid by 1988. Treaty of Rapallo, 16th of April 1922. Cooperation with the USSR. Ended Weimar Germany isolation. Treaty of Berlin, 24th of April 1926. Expansion of the Treaty of Rapallo to include guaranteed neutrality. Neue Sachlichkeit, a terrible art style. Dawes Plan, the 1st of September 1924. A 2-year break in reparations and the introduction of US loans. 4. Weimar Germany events. The Kiel Mutiny, the 29th of October 1918. Abdication of Emperor William II, 9th of November 1918. Spartacist Revolt, 5th of January 1919. Signing of the Treaty of Versailles, 28th of June 1919. Assassination of Kurt Eisner, 21st of February 1919. Kapp Putsch, the 13th of March 1920. The Beer Hall Putsch, the 8th of November 1923. National opposition formed, December 1929. The Reichstag fire, the 27th of February 1933. The Enabling Act, passed the 23rd of March 1933. 5. Italian individuals. Giovanni Giolitti, Italian Liberal Prime Minister, served 5 times in early 20th century. General D'Annunzio, general, poet, and nationalist. Orlando, Prime Minister of Italy from 1917 to 1919. Bieno Rosso, 2 red years, 1919 and 1920. Charles Albert, King of Sardinia from 1831 to his abdication the 23rd of March 1849. The Roman Republic, led by Giuseppe Mazzini from February to June 1849. Camillo Benso, Count of Cavour, Prime Minister of Sardinia and Italy from May 1852 to the 6th of June 1861. Charles Felix, King of Sardinia from 1821 to 1831. Massimo d'Azeglio, Prime Minister of Sardinia from 1849 to 1852. 6. Italy, key terms. Triple Alliance, 1882, between Italy, Austria-Hungary, and Germany. Treaty of London, signed the 26th of April, 1915. FCI, Fascio di Combattimento, the Fascist Party, formed March 1919. Acerbo Law, July 1923, entitling the governing party to 2/3 of seats in Parliament. The Battle for Grain, 1925. The Battle for the Lira, 1926. IMI, Istituto Mobiliare Italiano, to allocate capital, controlled 20% of Italian capital, 1931. The Quadripartite Pact, signed the 15th of July, 1933, with Germany, France, and Britain. Small countries should not be a part of great power affairs. The Rome-Berlin Axis, 25th of October 1936. Pact of Steel, 22nd of May 1939. The Locarno Pact, the 1st of December 1925. The Kellogg-Briand Pact, the 27th of August 1928. The Hoare-Laval Pact, December 1935. Rejected. 7. Italy events. The Italo-Turkish War, 1911 to 1912. World War I for Italy, 1915 to 1918. Fiume o Morte. The invasion of Fiume, September 1919, under Gabriele D'Annunzio. A Roma. Mussolini. The 24th of October 1922, a congress was held in Naples involving 40,000 black shirts. Victor Emmanuel III telegram, the 29th of October 1922, requesting that Mussolini form a government. Mussolini's march on Rome, the 30th of October 1922. Assassination of Giacomo Matteotti, the 10th of June 1924. Assassination of Austrian Chancellor Dollfuss, the 25th of July 1934. Final declaration of the Stresa Conference, the 14th of April 1935. The Walwal incident, the 5th of December 1934. Invasion of Abyssinia, the 3rd of October 1935. The annexation of Abyssinia, the 9th of May 1936. Italy agrees to Rhineland rearmament, the 22nd of February 1936, voiding Italy's commitment to the Locarno Treaty. Italy leaves the League of Nations, the 13th of December 1937. Invasion of Albania, the 15th of April 1939. Italy joins World War II, the 10th of June 1940. The Corfu Affair, August 1923. Spanish Civil War, the 1936 to 1939. The First War of Independence, declared the 23rd of March 1848 and went on until 1849. Abdication of Charles Albert, the 23rd of March 1849. The Plombières meeting, the 24th of July 1858. Second War of Independence, declared the 29th of April 1859 until the armistice of Villafranca, the 11th of July 1859. Cavour resigns, from July 1859 to January 1860. The Battle of Magenta, the 4th of June 1859. The Battle of Solferino, the 24th of June 1859. Landing of the Thousands, the 11th of May 1859, at Marsala. Italy declared, the 17th of March 1861. The assassination of Pellegrino Rossi, the 15th of November 1848. 8. Nazi Germany individuals. Deutsche Arbeiterfront, the DAF, replaced labor unions, mostly non-functional, 22 million members. Ernst Röhm, leader of the Sturmabteilung. Sturmabteilung, the SA, numbered 3 million by 1934, the more socialist faction in the party. Werner von Frisch, commander-in-chief of the army from 1934 to 1938, wanted independent army institutions. Schutzstaffel, founded in 1925, came under the charge of Heinrich Himmler by 1929, numbered 250,000 by 1939. March converts, those who joined the Nazi Party immediately following their rise to power. Rudolf Hess, deputy Führer, helped form the Nazi bureaucracy. Asocials, people not in accordance with the Volksgemeinschaft for non-racial reasons. Hjalmar Schacht, president of the Reichsbank, had helped create the Rentenmark, orchestrated the Nazi German economy. The Reich Radio Company, the agglomeration of all radio stations under Nazi control. Ihr Verlag, Nazi publishing house, controlled 2/3 of news by 1939, apparently made it rather boring. Hitlerjugend, 7.1 million members by 1938. Hans Lammers, head of the Reichskanzlei. 9. Nazi Germany key terms. Gleichschaltung, the bringing in line of German institutions with the NSDAP. The Second Revolution, a notion pushed by the socialist-oriented SA faction calling for social and economic reform. The formation of a people's army. Dualism, the parallel existence of traditional German institutions and the NSDAP. Nacht und Nebel, a 1941 law allowing the SS to arrest anyone under suspicion. The New Plan, Hjalmar Schacht's plan for German economy, including barter agreements, only selling goods in exchange for Reichsmark, and the creation of MIFO bills. The 4-year plan, from 1936 to 1940, to prepare German economy for war. This included the consolidation of key sectors and the establishment of autarky. Volksgemeinschaft, the people's community, idealizing the rural life, Blut und Boden. Teutonic paganism, a philosophy proposed by Alfred Rosenberg. The policy on women. It encouraged employers to discriminate against them, and also provided interest-free loans of 600 marks to women who seek marriage instead of work. Lebensborn, a place for unmarried mothers to go, and later for women to be impregnated. It was run by the SS. Operation T4, euthanasia of invalids, stopped due to Catholic protest. 10. Nazi Germany events. Landtage dissolved. March 1933. Creation of Reich governors. April 1933. Landtage abolished. January 1934. Opposing parties self-dissolve. June through July 1933. Final party was the Catholic ZP Zentrumspartei. NSDAP made only legal party. The 14th of July 1933. Speech against permanent revolution. The 6th of April 1933. Night of the Long Knives. 30th of June 1934. Death of Hindenburg. The 2nd of August 1934. Hossbach Conference. The 5th of November 1937 was the scene of the Blomberg-Fritsch crisis. The two generals expressed concern with the expansionist attitude despite being unprepared for war. The two were expelled from office, and Hitler became commander-in-chief of the army. Merging the office of the President of the Reichsbank and the Minister of Economics. The 3rd of July 1934. Berlin Olympic Games, 1936. Signing of the Concordat, 20th of July 1933. Kristallnacht, the 9th of November 1938. 11. Germany diplomatic at key terms. Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, October 1917. The treaties following World War I. Versailles for Germany, Saint-Germain for Austria, Sèvres et Lausanne for Turkey, Neuilly for Bulgaria, and Trianon for Hungary. Dawes Plan, 1924, reduced reparations, introduced a 2-year pause, and allowed American loans. The Franco-Soviet Mutual Assistance Pact. March 1936. Reason given for German rearmament of Rhineland. The Rome-Berlin Axis. October 1936. The Nazi-Soviet Pact. August 1939. German-Polish Non-Aggression Pact. The GPNAP. January 1934. British Guarantee of Poland. March 1939. Following annexation of the memo, Germany then cancels the GPNAP. Anglo-German Naval Agreement. July 1935. That there should be a 7-to-20 naval ratio. 12. Germany Diplomacy. Events. Occupation of the Saarland. January 1923. Beer Hall Putsch. The 8th of November 1923. Germany joins the League of Nations. 1926. The Locarno Treaties. October 1925. Black Tuesday. The 29th of October 1929. The Reichstag Fire. The 27th of February 1933. Night of the Long Knives. The 30th of June 1934. Hitler elected. The 30th of January 1933. The Saar plebiscite. January 1935. The Anschluss. The 12th of February 1938. Invasion of Poland. The 1st of September 1939. The occupation of Czechoslovakia. The 15th of March 1939. 13. Japan Individuals. Chiang Kai-shek, leader of the KMT, from 1925 until his death in 1975. Mao Zedong, leader of the CCP, rising to power during the 1930s, became chairman in 1943, and was so until his death in 1976. Chiang Tso-lin, warlord of Manchuria and the Fengtian clique, until his death by assassination the 4th of June 1928. Chang Sui-lang, son of Chiang Tso-lin, and ascended to his titles after his death. He sympathized with the KMT. Puyi, the last emperor of the Great Qing, and became emperor of Manchukuo. The Dark Valley, the 1930s. Tojo Hideki. He was a Tosaha general. He became chief of staff to the Kwantung Army and oversaw the start of the Second Sino-Japanese War. He became minister of the army in 1940 and prime minister in 1941. Emperor Meiji, 1867 to 1912. Emperor Taisho, 1912 to 1926. Emperor Showa, 1926 to 1989. Osachi, prime minister from 1929 to 1931. He was a liberal. He was shot and later died from his wounds. Wakatsuki, prime minister in 1931 and was powerless. Inokai, prime minister from 1931 to 1932. He was shot dead the 15th of May 1932. Saito, prime minister from 1932 to 1934. He was neutral, but was caught in a scandal and thereafter resigned. Okada, prime minister from 1934 to 1936. He was a liberal and almost shot the 26th of February 1936. He resigned. Hirota, prime minister from 1936 to 1937. He was neutral. Hayashi, prime minister in 1937. He was powerless. Prince Konoe was prime minister from 1937 to 1939. he was also powerless. 14. Japan, key terms. The Kwantung Army, Japanese army in Manchuria. The Zaibatsu, the business cartels. Kuomintang, the nationalist faction in China under the leadership of Chiang Kai-shek. The Washington and London naval treaties, a series of treaties which, among other things, reaffirmed China's sovereignty, making Japan return Shandong, as well as limiting the Japanese to 3/5 the naval capacity of the UK and the US. Taisho democracy, the rudimentary democracy which was allowed under Emperor Taisho. Peace preservation law, a law in Japan which allowed the government power to clamp down on opposition to the Japanese political structure. The CCP, the Chinese Communist Party under Mao Zedong. Anglo-Japanese alliance, signed 1902, ending the diplomatic isolation of Japan, and was the first example of an alliance between the West and a non-Western state. Gunboat diplomacy, the means by which the colonial powers informally managed China colonially. The Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, 1930, was signed by Herbert Hoover and put tariffs on Japanese goods as high as 200%. Treaty of Tangu, the 31st of May 1933, where China recognized Manchukuo and there was a ceasefire. Kodaha, radical militarists who believe in a military dictatorship and that the USSR is the primary enemy. Tosaiha, militarists who believe in a legal ascension of the military to control and wanted cordial relations with the USSR and domination in East Asia. Anti-Comintern Pact, signed the 25th of November 1936. The Imperial Rule Assistance Association, the 12th of October 1940, replacing all parties. The Tripartite Axis Pact, signed the 27th of September 1940. The Kellogg-Briand Pact, the 27th of August 1928, renouncing war as a legitimate means to achieving foreign policy. The Open Door Policy, the US policy that China should be sovereign and that there should be equality in trade privileges. Moral embargo, US embargoes on Japan. Credit was suspended in February 1939 and an entire trade embargo in November 1939. 15. Japan events. Triple intervention, the 23rd of April 1895. Germany, France and Russia object to Japan's increasing power after winning the Sino-Japanese War and insist on Japan handing over Liaodong to Russia and Shandong to Germany. Battle of Tsushima, the 27th of May 1905. The Russo-Japanese War, 1904 to 1905. 21 demands, posed to China, the 18th of January 1915. First Sino-Japanese War, 1894 to 1895. Assassination of Chang So-lin, the 4th of June 1928. Assassination of Osachi, the 14th of November 1930. He later died of infection. Mukden Incident, the 18th of September 1931. Japan exits the League of Nations, the 27th of March 1933. The May 15th Incident, the 15th of May 1932. The February 26th Incident, the 26th of February 1936. Marco Polo Bridge Incident, the 7th of July 1937. The Rape of Nanking, the 13th of October 1937, where Nanking falls and 30,000 become victims. The Xi'an Incident, the 12th of December, 1936. '16. Red China individuals. Mao Zedong, leader of the CCP. Cadres, party informers, both internal and external. Danwei, a place of employment. The Hukon, accommodation permit. The Dangan, party-held dossier on all individuals. Cao Kang, leader in Manchuria. Zhao Shushi, leader in Kwantung. United Nations, formed in 1945. Zhou Enlai, Foreign Secretary in the early 50s. Peng Dehuai, commander of the PVA in Korea. Li Xiannen, Minister of Finance, who admitted that the FYP-2 was a mess. Trofim Lysenko, a Soviet scientist who thought that he could revolutionize agriculture. Jiang Qing, Mao's fourth wife, first spoke in national politics during the Lushan Conference. Chen Yun, economist invited by Liu and Teng to fix the mess of FYP-2. Teng Xiaoping, General Secretary. Liu Shaoqi, President. Five-man group, high-ranking moderates. The group of four, led by Jiang Qing, were fanatics of Mao, denounced the five-man group, and later formed into the CCRG. CCRG, the Central Cultural Revolutionary Group. The Red Guards, Maoist teenagers. 17. Red China, key terms. Reunification campaigns. Kwantung, 1948. Xinjiang, 1949. Tibet, 1950. 5 anti-movements. 1952. Anti-industrial sabotage, anti-tax evasion, anti-bribery, anti-theft of government property, and anti-fraud. Sino-Soviet Agreement, 1950. USSR would help China. Only 5% was direct investment, the rest was in the way of loans. 100 Flowers Campaign, 1956 to 1957. A slight easing of censorship. Anti-rightist movement, 1957 to 1959, following the 100 Flowers Campaign. Tiananmen Square, built 1957, 100 acres of land, intentionally larger than Red Square. Collectivization, 1956 to 1958. Little Red Book, 1964, written by Lin Biao and Chen Boda, a journalist. The Diary of Lei Feng, diary of a Mao-loving lorry driver. The Four Olds, old customs, old habits, old ideas, and old culture. Red Guard Terror, 500,000 officials attacked. Up to the Mountains and Down to the Villages campaign, 1967 to 1972. Cleansing of class ranks, 1968 to 1971. Criticize Lin Piao and Confucius movement, 1972. 18. Red China events. 1955 Mao speech. Proclaims the necessity of violent revolution. Cao Kang, Zhao Shushi incident. 1954. Blamed for failing to meet FYP-1 standards and for running their own, quote-unquote, independent kingdoms. Land reform. 1949 to 1950. Land taken from owners. 1 million landlords killed, but well received by the general population. The UN Security Council Assembly. July 1950. voted to send UN forces to Korea. The USSR was absent. US troops cross the 38th parallel. October 1950. Under General MacArthur. China then joins. The Long March. From October 1934 to October 1935. From Shaanxi to Yan'an Province. Chinese troops enter Korea. The 27th of November 1950. 260,000 troops initially. Peng Dehuai succeeds Chou Enlai as manager of the CMC, the Central Military Command. July 1952. The Armistice of Panmunjom. July 1953. Red China recognized by the United Nations. 1972. FYP 1. 1952 to 1956. Suppression of the Hungarian uprising. November 1956. May have prompted the end of the 100 Flowers campaign. FYP 2. 1958 to 1962. The Great Leap Forward. The Great Famine. 1958 to 1962. Approximately 50 million dead. Lushan Conference. July 1959. Peng Dehuai admits to famine but not backed. Chou Enlai felt guilty and becomes a drunkard. The Panchen Lama Report. 1962. A documentation of Tibetan genocide which was being hidden by the CCP. Mao withdrawal from politics. 1962. Replaced by Liu Shaoqi and Deng Xiaoping. The Wuhan Affair. Wuhan was a reactionary playwright who wrote a play allegorical to Peng Dehuai's speech at the Lushan Conference. Return of Mao. July 1966, as he swam across the Yangtze River. The Grand Rally. The 18th of August 1966. Expulsion of Liu Shaoqi and Deng Xiaoping. 1968. The PLA take over Red Guards in commanding the Cultural Revolution. 1967. Death of Lin Piao. The 13th of September, 1971. Crashes in Mongolia while fleeing to the Soviet Union. Deng Xiaoping returns. 1975. Death of Mao. The 9th of September, 1976. 19. Cold War individuals. Lublin Committee. Soviet-aligned Polish Committee. George F. Kennan, U.S. diplomat in Moscow. The ACC, the Allied Control Council, governed occupied Germany. SEATO, CETO, 1954 to 1977, was the Asian version of NATO. General Westmoreland, commander of U.S. forces in Vietnam. Eisenhower, 1953 to 1961. JFK, 1961 until his assassination, the 22nd of November, 1963. Johnson, from the assassination of Kennedy, the 22nd of November, 1963, until 1969. Nixon, 1969 to 1974. Reagan, 1981 to 1989. Khrushchev, 1953 to 1964. Brezhnev, 1964 until his death, the 10th of November 1982. Walter Ulbricht in East Germany, 1950 to 1971. OAS, Organization of American States. Gorbachev, 1985 to 1991. 20. Cold War key terms. Tehran Conference, 1943. Operation Overlord suggested. Unconditional surrender agreed the goal. Yalta. Conference 1945. Free elections to be held. Odense, Curzon, Poland. Potsdam Conference 1945. After Yalta. Unitary German economy. Truman is suspicious of the USSR. The UN is formalized. Percentages Agreement 1944. Bilateral agreement between the USSR and Britain. Salami tactics. The gradual Soviet consolidation of control in Eastern Europe. The Bretton Woods Agreement 1944. All economies pegged to the dollar pegged to gold. The Marshall Plan. Enacted March 1948. Applicants required to produce financial records. The White Paper Report. US report on the CCP takeover. The USSR is not blamed. NSC 68. National Security Council 68. 1950. Announces a monolithic view of communism and introduces containment, the domino effect. UNSC Resolution on Korea. The 27th of June, 1950. USSR absent. Treaty of San Francisco. 1951. Permanent US presence in Japan. Formosa Resolution. 1955. Eisenhower allowed to issue any military response. Ho Chi Minh Trail. A VC, FNL supply chain through Cambodia and Laos. Nixon Doctrine. July 1969. US withdrawal from Asia. Paris Peace Talks. Finalized the 27th of January 1973. US withdrawal. Eisenhower Doctrine. January 1957. Containment in the Middle East. Shanghai Communique. 1972. Stating that neither part wanted hegemony in Asia. SALT I. 1972. SALT II. 1974. Was not approved in the United States. Moscow Treaty. 1970. Two Germanys agree to recognize borders. The Basic Treaty. 1972. Two Germanys recognize each other. Helsinki Conference. 1973 to 1975. Carter Doctrine. US to defend interests in the Persian Gulf. The SDI. Strategic Defense Initiative. Star Wars. Brezhnev Doctrine. USSR is hegemon of the communist world. NNPT. 1968. Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. 21. Cold War Events. Trinity Test. The 17th of July, 1945. Day after Potsdam started. Soviet Union refuses to leave Persia. The 1st of January, 1946. Kennan's Long Telegram. The 22nd of February, 1946. Iron Curtain Speech. The 5th of March, 1946. Russia then withdraws from the IMF. Truman Doctrine Speech. 12th of March, 1947. End of US isolationism. Czech coup. February 1948. Berlin blockade. 1948 to 1949. USSR gets the atomic bomb. August 1949. The UNSC resolution on Korea passed. The 27th of July 1950. The Geneva Accords. 1954. France cedes Indochina. Gulf of Tonkin incident. The 2nd of July 1964. The Tet Offensive. The 30th of January 1968. Assassination of JFK. The 22nd of November 1963. The Fall of Saigon. April 1975. Death of Stalin. 5th of March 1953. Anti-Stalin speech. 25th of February 1956. Berlin crisis. 27th of November 1958. U-2 incident. May 1960. Berlin Wall erected. The 13th of August 1961. Castro comes to power. January 1959. Cuba receives Soviet aid. February 1960, after rejection by IMF and OAS. Bay of Pigs incident. The 17th of April 1961. Castro declares Cuba communist. Cuban Missile Crisis. From the 16th of October 1962 to the 28th of October 1962. Khrushchev visits Peking. 1958. Threats towards Taiwan. 1958. USSR condemns threats as Trotskyist. End of Sino-Soviet relations. 1961. Over Albania. Sino-Indian War. The 10th of October 1962 to the 20th of November 1962. The USSR backs India. Prague Spring. 1968. Sino-Soviet Border War. 1969. Vietnam invades Cambodia. 24th of December 1979. China then invades Vietnam. The Bandung Conference. 1955. Zhou Enlai calls USA the main enemy. Evil Empire speech. The 8th of March 1983. The PDP come to power in Afghanistan. The People's Democratic Party. April 1978. Afghan War. From December 1979 to 1989. Khrushchev bangs shoe at the United Nations General Assembly. The 12th of October 1960.